What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 263 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback or ebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. Today's episode again is number 263 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast, and it's entitled "I'd Do Anything to Feel Loved." This episode, just want to say up front, is a result of lots of feedback I got from the recent episodes from the From Ashes to Destiny curriculum where Germaine said he loved the young women he was pimping. So I've gotten the comments from quite a few women caught in the same sort of situation, and they've shared their feelings, and I'll be sharing them with everyone else along this idea of I'd do anything to feel loved. Okay, first comment that I got said, I can totally relate to Germaine having all the girls work the street as punishment for stolen money. Looking back, whenever my pimp punished me, it was because I screwed up, not him. I deserved it. It's not his fault, it was mine. I knew the deal. Yeah, the tough comment there. And I want to ask the listeners, in what ways have you blamed yourself because someone you loved was controlling or gaslighting you? And I'd like to challenge you with a quote by Nina Simone, who said, "You have to learn to get up from the table when love is no longer being served." Second comment I got from a listener said, "I wish I had someone to help me get out. I'm still under the control of my pimp. I can't escape. He'd find me and hurt me, or my family. I can't just run. And besides, where would I go?" So I want to ask the listeners, have you ever been stuck and felt like you couldn't escape your dealer, your loan shark, your lover, your pimp? Have you ever tried to escape and they came after you or your family because of money? Or they threatened to come after them if you didn't give the money? So I want to challenge you with the quote by Oscar Wilde, who says, "Never love anyone who treats you like you're ordinary." And again, I'll be mixing some quotes in here about this idea of I'd do anything to feel loved. The third comment that I got from a listener said, "David, I fully understand that calling the Johns my dates. I've learned to control my emotions by lying to myself that way. I tell myself sex is no big deal with no emotions involved. Plus, I'm the one in control of the dates and their behavior. And I'm getting paid. And my dates always come back for another date. I guess I keep the customer satisfied." Wow. I want to ask the listeners, what euphemism or euphemisms have you told yourself to numb your emotions or thoughts about stuff you did in your addiction? Okay. The next listener wrote, "I was sexually abused as a child. I can see now how I was used. And I grew up always feeling dirty and only good for one thing. So I guess you could say I know I'm still wounded, still looking for someone who understands my pain. But to be honest, too often I meet a guy in a club and they end up being a predator who can see the victim in me and they just say what I want to hear. And I only realize what they're about when they start abusing me. How do I find a friend who won't hurt me?" Shaw, that's a deep one when we've been abused in the past and find ourselves being victimized again and again because predators can see the victim in us. And then we get to where we don't know who we can trust. And I want to ask everyone, are you fully isolating or withdrawn in any way because everyone you thought could be a friend hurt you? And how can you talk with someone to help you understand those vibes or that look that you give off that says, yep, I've been a victim? Okay. The next comment I got from a listener says, I'd do anything to feel loved. That's how I got hooked on drugs. He said he loved me, and if I loved him, I'd get high with him. The next thing I know, I was hooked, and I couldn't do anything about it. Besides, he was paying the rent, the utilities, buying me clothes and jewelry, makeup, buying the food, and giving me my drugs. Sure, a lot going on there. So when I ask you, who has pushed you to the point of doing anything to feel loved and justifying it in your mind because they were paying for everything for you? And I want to give you a quote by Lucille Ball, who said, love yourself first and everything else falls into line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. Next comment I got from a listener says, I've lost all of my morals in the name of love. It's like the moment he said he loved me, all sense of right and wrong flew out the window. I hate myself for becoming a hooker. How could any decent person ever love me now? How do I ever learn to love myself? That's some good questions there, and I want to ask the listeners, do you have someone to talk with to begin the journey of self-forgiveness, self-love, and freedom? Because those questions are real. If you've reached that point where you do anything to feel loved, and now you're hating yourself for the things you've done, how do you find someone to talk to realize that decent people can love you and can like you and be your friend? And how do you learn to love yourself? I'd like to close with a short section written by Paul Coelho in By the River Piedra I Sat Down and Wept. And it goes like this. Love is a narcotic. At first, it brings the euphoria of complete surrender. The next day, you want more. You're not addicted yet, but you like the sensation, and you think you can still control things. You think about the person you love for 2 minutes and forget them for 3 hours. But then you get used to that person, and you begin to be completely dependent on them. Now you think about them for 3 hours and forget them for 2 minutes. If he's not there, you feel like an addict who can't get a fix. And just as addicts steal and humiliate themselves to get what they need, you're willing to do anything for love. Shaw, he speaks it very, very well for this topic. I'd do anything to feel loved. I just want to thank everyone for listening to this episode of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. And want to say, whatever got stirred in you, I just want to encourage you to reach out and talk to someone. If you can't find anyone to talk to, you can message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfroma2d@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.froma2d.org, and click on the contact page. Keep listening to future podcasts, and as always, stay safe and stay resilient.